Hi, it's December 13th, 2021. It's a Monday. I was working and I'm thinking heavily over the last few days about my Akashic Records reading. So I just feel like I have a clearer picture of what I want or need to work on and want to fix. But I feel like it's so difficult for me. Like, I'm trying to write this and I only have 2 sentences. So I thought I'd record a video and maybe it'll come out, maybe it won't. But for my readings, there's like this really big emphasis on letting go of like all the self-doubt that I've had. And it's not that like I need to like release this. I mean, it's obviously good to release it, but like I really need to like be more accepting of myself and truly love myself. And like, yeah, to kind of give a mini recap of what was said was like, there's like self-doubt within you that thinks like somehow that you are not like right, and it deals with how you look at yourself. So when a few things to like digest and really think about is like, how did the trauma affect the way you view yourself? Like, how did the trauma affect the way you view your traits or preferences? How did it also affect your willingness to stand out? And like, as you kind of digest this, who told you that the way you were is not okay? And how has that message been reinforced in your life that somehow the way you were as a child was not right, and that you needed to change yourself to be acceptable and lovable? And that being perfect was never like in the agreement. And if you try to achieve perfection, it will continue to feel that something is missing. So this is like very key for me. I have it all like kind of written in different journal prompts all over the place when I was like undergoing my dark night of the soul. But it's been a while since I've like fully digested everything that's there. So I was kind of rereading some of it, but I also want to like start off fresh at the same time. So yeah, I just thought it was something I fixed, but it's like more challenging than I thought. Like, for example, like I never had like a rough childhood, but I did have a lot of challenges with like my identity. So I was born and raised in the US. My family, my parents, my sister were born in Afghanistan. And with that comes like a lot of traditional and like totally different culture, I think, than the US. And like, growing up, my friends and family would be like, wow, your parents are like super like American, I guess, like just the way they think, because over there it's like a lot more conservative, and like I would have, I guess, a bit more freedom than other Afghan kids. Like, I never had to like watch how I dressed or anything like that. My mom was never like this too, even when she grew up there. Like, she was wearing like mini skirts and like, just roaming around, and no one like would bother her. And obviously like it's a different situation now. But yeah, I do remember like lots of like cousins and family friends that would be like, I wish I had your parents. And I'm like, yeah, my parents are pretty cool. Like, I would see how strict their parents were. So, I was just like, yeah, I'm good with my parents. Like, some little things here and there I wish would change, obviously. But I know, like, where that was coming from and why it had to be that way. Like, for example, sleepovers and stuff, it's not that I wouldn't be allowed. Okay, I guess I wouldn't be allowed. But like at the same time, when I did finally have a sleepover and it was like outside in the tent in the backyard, I got freaked out and faked a tummy ache and left. And I was like, I don't want to sleep in a tent in the backyard. Like, I'd rather sleep in my bed. But anyway, so little things like that, which like I can understand, like both the positives and negatives of it, especially because like I feel like growing up, you turn on like Oprah, like my mom would watch Dr. Phil and be like, when so and so's kids were at this person's house for a sleepover, their parent inappropriately touched them, and like they've been scarred ever since. And yeah, those things happen. So like I kind of get their perspective. So not I do get their perspective. Anyway, that was a long tangent, but I don't know. I almost felt guilty for having more accepting parents, and I don't know why. I didn't know like how to process what people were telling me, like as if I should feel bad that their situation is much different than mine. And like I would kind of like downplay it, I guess, to like make them feel more comfortable, which is pretty much echoed throughout my life, to like downplay my emotions to like make other people happy. And I think that's really like the root of it, because it's echoed throughout my whole life. Like let me think off the top of my head. Okay, I guess like everyone's conservative parents versus my not so conservative parents. And then at the World Bank, where I got my first like real career paying job, like I wasn't expecting to first get in. I wanted to. I applied 3 different times. And like, yeah, once I got in, people were like, who's your father? Like, you got in here for like some connections and whatnot. And I'm like, I was pissed. I was like, what? Like, I don't know anybody here that works here. Like, I got in. I mean, but people were very like jealous, and I was like one of the first people in my office during that time that got a like staff position. So like immediately there was like a target on my back. I felt it so strong, because it's just rare. But at the same time, my position was like bottom of the barrel, I guess, by World Bank standards, or within my own office. But yeah, people just assumed like, pretty much they just discredited all the work that I did. And like, when I did start there, I was like 24 and young. At that time, not everyone, but most people were male, and they were definitely older, like in their 50s plus. I was like the only 20-something for a long time. So it was tough. I mean, there was a few people in their 30s and then 50s, and that's it. I mean, it's a small place, but like in my unit, but it was just rare to be young. And then like on top of it, I only had like a bachelor's degree, so it was just like all these like little bureaucratic BS that like really like made me feel like I was down here. And like, thank God I have like the best, most amazing boss. Man, he really like helped me through it all and like kind of paved the way for me to like find my way. I'm so appreciative. Sorry. But yeah, it kind of just like echoed throughout. And then like finally, so like 2014, I get this staff position, and then immediately just feel like I should just like lay low and not talk about it or celebrate it. And so I just kind of like kept to myself. And then there was like a change in management, and like it was like complete 180 flip of what was going on previously. And like I just remember having many like yearly performance reviews, and this lady was just like, you need to like stop being quiet and step out. And like I know like what she was saying, but the delivery was all wrong. Like she was literally like yelling at me to like pretty much change my personality and be like her, which like I can't. It's not possible. It's not in me. And yeah, just like to step away from the shadow of my boss. Like all these assumptions she made, she never like talked to me about these things beforehand. It was just like, oh, the yearly performance review, like you're getting a shitty rating because like you're too quiet, or like you need to like step out, when like there's a bunch of like quiet introverted people in our office, and like none of them get that same kind of treatment than like I do. I mean, people have other problems, but it's just like, you know, that little like fucking woodpecker that's just like, you have problems, something's wrong with you, you need to change, you need to be better, you need to be a different person, in fact. And like at the same time that was going on, I was in a really long-term relationship, and this person pretty much like, they had a bunch of childhood issues that I think really like ruined the relationship. And there was like some narcissism, not some, there was narcissism and like jealousy and, you know, like insecurity in it, that like now I can see with like both eyes like what it was. But that relationship definitely like ruined me. Ruined my like self-love and self-worth. Like I really thought I was like fine as a person. I mean, till like I met that person, I like obviously really like cared and loved them, and they always just seemed to like pick at me different things. And like I'd always be like, if this is such a big deal, like why are you even with me? But they're like, yeah, you need to change, you need to be better. And I was never that type to be like, well, you need to change because I don't like X, Y, and Z. I just like was accepting of it, of them, which I thought that's what love is. Unless they have like some major issue. But there's a lot of noise outside every time I record. So let me think some more. Yeah, they would just like constantly criticize me that, I don't know, off the top of my head, that I snored and that that I was fat, that I was watching shitty like television shows, that I should I don't even know. I think half of it I blocked out of my memory because I was like, what the heck? Like, what is this? You just a couple times a year decide to pick a few different things about me and just constantly criticize it until I try to change for you, and then I change, and then it's like something else will pop up. It really wasn't fair. I mean, deep down, I think I didn't like any of those things, like from childhood, from my job, from my past relationship. But I just kind of accepted it, and then in some cases would change. In other cases, I'd kind of just ignore it and just be like, okay, whatever. Like they have their own personal problems that they need to figure out, and they're just trying to find an excuse to get under my skin for whatever reason to justify their behavior, I guess. But yeah, I guess if something keeps chipping at you, eventually you will crack and it gets to you, and yeah, you can't help but think that there's these things wrong with you. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Although I remember in my last relationship, I would always be like, I'm perfect and this because they just had so many issues with me, and I'm like, why are you here investing time with me if these are such terrible things you can't stand about me? Anyway, this is probably gonna be a part 2.